Today we're at one of my favorite spots in Louisville, Kentucky, Bourbons Bistro. This place is like a home to me. No, literally, I've spent many nights right up there. Not only does this place have some of the best food in Louisville, but Jason, the owner, he certainly knows his way around a bourbon barrel. Come on in, let's see if he's here. Hello, my name is Bo Cumberland, and over the past several years, I've been on my own personal bourbon journey. It's been well documented in a lot of the projects that I've been working on. For the first time ever, I'm coming out from behind the camera, as odd as that may be, or as awkward as I may make it, so that you can experience with me the world of bourbon. Here we are with owner and bourbon curator Jason Brauner. So how you been, buddy?
Good, Bo. Good to see you again.
Man, it's been such a long time since I've been here.
It has been a while. Glad to have you back.
Man, I gotta be honest. When I come to Louisville, I have to come here. Not only is the food great, the atmosphere's out of this world, but your bourbon collection, it's just one of a kind.
Well, we really appreciate it, Bo. And I tell you, if you'd like to see what goes on behind the scenes here, I'd definitely show you around.
I'd love to.
All right, well, let's go.
Hey. So tell me about where we are, Jason.
Well, you know, here we're behind the bar here at Bourbons. My father and I built this bar out of old whiskey barrels, bourbon barrels, believe it or not. We carry about anywhere from 130 to 150 bourbons at one time. We have a lot of barrel picks in the house. We do flights, you name it, we've got it.
So talk to me about this area, Jason.
Yeah, Bo, this is our dining room. This is our main dining room. We seat about 100 people in here. On a busy night, we'll turn this 2 or 3 times. So
wow.
This is where all of our guests come and relax, and we hope they're going to have a good time here.
Awesome, man. Hope I don't get sued by Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about the...
Yes, so Bo, this is the kitchen. This is where all the magic happens. This is our resident magician, Chef Jeremy McFarland.
How's it going, bud?
Yeah, Jason, like you said, we make everything in the house. Right here, we're cutting our own salmon. Everything is fresh. We got some guys over here cutting up some lettuce for our wedge salads. Justin's over there. He's our pastry chef. He's cutting up bread for the bread pudding, which is one of the most popular desserts on the menu. And we got the guys over here. Even the French fries we make, as you can see, we're frying them. Saute guy, Sylvester, and then, you know, the magic in the dish pit that makes the world spin.
Yeah, so Bo, we do it old school around here. We do it all from scratch. So Bo, this is my favorite part of the restaurant, especially in the fall and winter time. We've got a covered patio out here with a beautiful fireplace here at the end. And most nights you'll find me out here sipping a bourbon out by the fire.
Hello, this is Steve Akeley, owner of the ABV Network, and I want to talk to you about the ABV Network shop. We have a variety of logo merchandise that covers the shows as well as the companies under the ABV Network, but we're more than that as well. If you're into bourbon, and if you're listening to this, I can only assume that you are, you may want to check out the ABV Network shop. We have home decor items, things for grilling, clothing, stickers, personal grooming items, and so much more over at the ABV Network shop. So just head over to abvnetwork.com, click on shop, and start filling your bourbon basket today.
All right, so thanks for the tour, Jason.
No problem.
Let's talk a little bit about how you got started. How did Bourbons Bistro become a thing?
Wow. Well, I'd been in the restaurant business for a while. I started my first restaurant when I was 21. Good friend of mine were sitting around drinking some bourbon and said, what are we going to do on this next restaurant project? And he actually came up with the name and said, let's call it Bourbons. So we just took it and ran with it, and here we are 16 years later.
Now, is it true that is Bourbons Bistro one of is it the first or one of the first bourbon?
I think it's probably one of the first bourbon-focused restaurants as well as a bar. Now, there's been plenty of other whiskey bars across the country, focused on all kinds of whiskey. I think we were really the first to actually put food with bourbon and really focus on bourbon itself.
Coming up with the menu, like what were you going for when you came up with the menu for Bourbons Bistro?
I'm a big fan of Southern flavors. So anything from Louisville to New Orleans, I would call kind of safe. And that's what we really kind of put a Southern backdrop to, something you could have some nice bourbons to. So I call Louisville the north of the South. So it's basically upscale Southern food.
So what's the best seller on the menu, and why do you think it is?
The best seller this season has probably got to be the pork chop. It is just comfort food, real thick. We brine our pork chops, wrapped in prosciutto. Chef does a really, really good job with the pork chop.
All right. What's your favorite item on the menu?
Oh, I love the spicy oysters. Get them sprinkled over a Caesar salad. But my favorite probably is the pork chop.
Awesome. So not only are you a great chef, but you also know your way around a bourbon barrel. So talk about how you got into bourbon.
Just doing the research after, I always enjoyed drinking bourbon growing up. It seemed it was always around my family. And doing research on the restaurant to where 95% of the world's bourbon comes from about 70 miles from here. I thought at the time it was under-marketed and really nobody understood what bourbon really is and what could be. So we were just kind of out to educate the world about bourbon.
One of my favorite things in the bourbon industry is barrel picking. So you probably have one of the best palates around. So walk me through what you look for when you go on a barrel pick.
We've done probably over 100 barrel picks through bourbons over the years, and got to meet all the guys and master distillers, and I feel like I've gotten to taste the best of the best out there. What I'm looking for in a barrel pick is going to be just this full experience: the front of the palate, middle of the palate, back of the palate, as well as that big Kentucky hug at the end. So I'm looking for a full flavor, got a great mouth feel to it, kind of viscous. But I'm just looking for the whole dog and pony show.
Another thing that you're pretty well known for here at Bourbons Bistros are your flights. So walk me through kind of what you look for when you create a flight.
Well, I'd love to walk you through it, but I'm going to tell you what, why don't we go and I'm going to have you make a flight.
Works for me.
Sounds good. Let's go to the
Cool.
bar.
Cool. All right, Jason. So one of the things that you guys are most known for are your bourbon flights. So walk me through like what you look for in a bourbon flight when you're creating one.
Well, Bo, with so many options, we can do anything with the flights. We like to do, sometimes we'll do single barrel flights, sometimes we'll do a bottled and bond flight. You could do a wheated bourbon flight, you can do a rye bourbon flight. The world is your oyster. So I think what I'm going to do is have you look over our whiskey list or our bourbon list and you pick your own flight and we'll put it on the menu. We'll call it Bo's Flight.
Awesome. Sounds good to me. All right, so I've looked over your list. It's a very exhaustive list, but I looked over it all, and I think what I've decided on is a single barrel flight.
Okay, very good.
All right.
Yeah.
So
You've got some good ones picked out here. This is our store pick Knob Creek. Actually, the bartender Mike picked that one out for us. That comes in at 120 proof. We've got the Buzzard's Roost. Barrel strength single barrel. That comes in at about 115, 113, 113. And then we also have a Maker's Mark single barrel pick that we picked just for the restaurant here. Got our own blend of staves in there, and that comes in at right at 113. So that's a high proof flight, even you know, no matter what you want to call it.
Well, we're going to try this thing?
Yeah, let's get going. Start pouring. It's your deal.
So while I'm pouring this, though, we're here filming right around the holidays, and so talking about the Knob Creek and the Buzzard's Roost, so there's something special about this Buzzard's Roost. You want to talk about
Yeah,
that?
well, we do some homemade eggnog making around here during the holidays, and just so happens it's got to be made with some high-proof whiskey. So any one of these will actually work in it, and depending on what batch I'm making, I will put any number of these whiskeys in with the eggnog.
So do we get to try some of that?
Of course we are. As soon as we get done with this, we're going to move on to the next.
All right. All right, so if you don't mind, let's walk through why I chose, let's taste them, and then let's talk about why I chose them.
I want to hear why you chose these.
Okay. Well, first up, I chose the Knob Creek. All of these are high in proof, but I like this rye selection. I like it, so I chose it for that. I'm a Knob Creek fan anyway. Mm-hmm. So
For sure. Great choice. Very nice.
yeah, I'm getting a lot of. I always get a lot of spice off of Knob Creek, so I think it contrasts, you know, the weeded bourbon for Maker's Mark for me. So I think that's why I went with this one.
No, that's a great contrast. You know, the Maker's Mark being weeded is going to be a little bit sweeter. I might have started with that one first and then ended with the Knob Creek just because of the way the proof goes as well. Like we're starting with the high proof 120 Knob Creek. We probably could have worked our way up from Maker's 113 to 114 basically and on up. But I think it's a great flight.
Okay, that's good. Well, let's go next to Buzzard's Roost. I chose that. So in my bourbon journey, you know, when I first started off in bourbon, I was more of a bourbon fan. Rye was okay, but as the more I get into this, the more I really like the ryes, and Buzzard's Roost is, you know, one of my favorites. So this has to go in there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Cheers. We're real happy with the way these Buzzard's Roost ryes turned out. We're real happy with them. This actually won a gold medal in San Francisco in 2020.
Wow. Dude, this is just packed with flavor. So, when I first started drinking ryes, you know, all I could just taste was the spice, and, you know, the more my palate's developed, but man,
I call it a bourbon drinker's rye. Yeah, so you did a good job by putting this one in.
For sure. All right, and then I finished off. I'm a Maker's Mark fan. You know, a lot of people don't like weeded bourbons, but I'm a weeded bourbon fan, and Maker's Mark does some pretty phenomenal things with their single barrels, and
Sure.
so if we're doing a single barrel flight, Maker's Mark certainly has to be there. And so
I see why you ended with this one, because it's your favorite. You want to save the best for last. But here we go. Cheers.
Cheers. Man, even at 113, this comes in so smooth, and
There's not a bad one in the bunch.
no, not at all. So, okay, out of what would you rank me if I mean, I'm no bourbon aficionado like you, but what would you rank me?
Bo, I think I'd have to give you a 10 out of 10 for this one. Bo, I know you act like you wanted to save the best for last, but I think I saved the best for last. This is our famous homemade eggnog. You gotta shake it up because all the real vanilla-y's in there. This is made with some high-proof bourbon and a lot of love. So,
I haven't had an opportunity to try this yet, but I've heard wonderful things about it.
cheers.
Cheers. That is Christmas in my mouth right there. Jason, thank you so much for showing us around, all the hospitality today, and most of all, thanks for giving me a place to crash every time I used to come into Louisville. So I certainly appreciate it, man.
Yeah, Bo, anytime. But, you know, all this drinking, I'm getting hungry. You want to get something to eat?
Heck yeah.
Let's go.
All right, bud. So in the bourbon industry, there's a great emphasis on the beard. Who has a better beard, you or Steve Akeley?
Well, you know, his is he's got some length and some girth on his beard, but it's not as pretty as mine.
Yeah, his is like everywhere.
Yeah,
it's like
it's-
tangled up. It looks like a
We call
rat's
it
neck.
bourbon Sasquatch.
Yeah, for sure.
So mine is much prettier.
Yeah, yours is very streamlined and
Yeah,
very
yeah.
elegant. So
High and tight, kind of.
Yeah, I would agree that yours
So I'm
is.
going to go with mine.
I would agree with that.